As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Son of a bitch. He stole my life.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Welcome back to Shot by Shot podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Trainspotting from 1996, directed by Danny Boyle, in Ryan's home country of Scotland. This film tackles some pretty heavy subject matter with addiction and really is, if you've seen the film, you know that this is not much like any other film you've seen. It moves at 100 miles per hour at all time, very choppy, hard cutting almost always, and really just does not spend too much time kind of letting you get settled in any one particular scene. And you never know where it's going to change. It changes on a dime, and it really is one of the fastest moving films I've ever seen. So, Ryan, this is from your home country. Why don't you start us off? What are your thoughts on Danny Boyle's Trainspotting?
Yeah, this is like an iconic Scottish film. It's probably my favourite Danny Boyle film. In fact, definitely is my favourite Danny Boyle film. Yeah, like you said, it's just kind of nice to see places that you know in a film because that doesn't really happen often, at least to me. It probably happens to you a lot with Philly and New York, but it's not something that happens in the UK really. But yeah, other than
we barely ever see anything here, unfortunately.
doing it, well, you had Blowout. Blowout was good.
We got Rocky, we got Blowout, and we got Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh yeah, you have Rocky. That's a big one. But yeah, other than that, like you said, I think it is like a brilliant study of like these drug addicts in Edinburgh. A lot of it's shot in Glasgow because I guess it's easier to find shitholes in Glasgow than it is Edinburgh for the locations, and cheaper probably. But yeah, it's a good character study of them as they kind of like the world passes by them as they kind of just sit on drugs. Hence the name, like Trainspotting. But yeah, it's more than that really. It's more than a drug film as well. I always see people kind of focusing on that, but there's a lot of comedy here. It's weirdly there isn't a comedy section on it on Letterboxd because I think this is an hilarious film. It's a dark comedy, but and it has certainly a lot of serious moments in it. But I think it definitely has a comedy. But yeah, I think it brilliantly captures that kind of Scottish culture, the humor of it, whilst kind of still capturing that dark reality the lives the characters are living. And there's like great commentary, like you were saying, on poverty and addiction, and just the lives that are living. And I think there's some hilarious moments in this film, especially the moments where like Danny Boyle inserts his like directorial flair. You know, there's probably a lot of people that would have maybe took a more serious approach on drugs in this situation. Maybe played it a bit more boring than that, but I think he has these really moments of surrealism that really elevate the film. There's like the moments like when Ewan McGregor like climbs into a toilet and it turns into this like giant underwater cave, or when he takes heroin and he like falls through the floor. I think these are like moments that really make the movie memorable and really stick with you. And it really made this like stand out when it came out. I mean, this was advertised as like the UK Pulp Fiction, which it kind of does make sense with the kind of like fast going kind of style that you were talking about. But yeah, we just got the new restoration released and it looks amazing. It's really odd that the original physical release kind of screwed up the color grading and they just never fixed it. And I don't know if this was like a late 90s thing because the same thing happened with The Matrix. Like The Matrix wasn't supposed to have that like green tint to it. It like happened when it went to DVD, and then it actually became like iconic with The Matrix. So there was just something about physical releases in the 90s that they kept screwing up. But yeah, it looks amazing now. And I really enjoyed seeing it last week. The way it was intended, finally. One of the most iconic UK films. It would be the best Scottish film, I'd say, if it wasn't for After Sun. But I definitely put it number 2 there. So yeah, it's such a good film.
Yeah, it is. For me, Danny Boyle is such an interesting filmography. We were talking about with De Palma last week. He's done so many such a wide range of genres that he's covered, across horror, sci-fi, several dramas. Oscar-winning dramas in that as well. But I think this is my second favorite of his. and it's absolutely one of the best films to come out of Scotland. I only just watched it the other day, first time it is in the cinema as well, which I kind of almost glad I put off watching it. Just and then the opportunity came around now to see it with the new restoration as well, which is really such a standout restoration. The colors in this film is glorious, and it looks so good. And it's really just one of those standout looks on drug culture, because you get several films nowadays that drug culture films on drugs can be quite repetitive, and a lot of them just end up being really shallow and one-dimensional. But this is something different. It's got Danny Boyle's got this, like you said, this kind of surrealist element to this film. Our characters are kind of bouncing off each other really well, and it just everything clicks and it works. It just works perfectly. You know, you've got films like Beautiful Boy from 2000, what, I can't remember, but that's just it, in comparison to this, both films about kind of younger people on drugs, and one of them is really shallow and the other is just so good. But yeah, this is such a surprise to me. I don't know why. I just wasn't expecting it to be as hilarious as it was when going in. My whole cinema was dying multiple times when watching this. But yeah, this is it. I think it just really impressive how it balances those kind of comedic moments, and then the next minute we're shifting to some really serious, kind of darker moments. But yeah, that's what stood out to me the most.
Yeah, I think this is a film that really kind of breaks the rules of cinema and challenges like the way that we're used to stories being told. It doesn't really it doesn't do a lot of the things that most more safer studio films would do to kind of guide you through it. We don't have like a real concrete plot here. The objectives happen really quick without like super clear motivations at all times. It really dumps exposition on us super quickly to the point where we can't really process it. And it's never really worried about making anything clear to us. Like, we don't see establishing shots. It's very easy to get disoriented or confused in a film like this. And I think that it's an ultra subjective film at all times. The voiceover, everything about is super subjective, which is why, it's easy to watch this film and get lost or confused, but I think it's more concerned with, putting us in the shoes of these drug addict characters and what it's like for them and how chaotic their life is, and really just how moment to moment it is. It's very caught up in the heat of the moment. Like I said, there's no kind of overarching objective. It's all about what do they want just in that moment. What's the kind of the caught up like caught up in the heat of the moment mostly. There's not a lot of build up or suspense or really letting anything linger. It's like I keep saying, just ultra moment to moment. Like, shit just happens in this film. There's not a bunch of setup and payoff or anything like that, or the things that we're kind of trained to expect from a Hollywood or more traditional narrative film. And I like how right from the start it kind of drops us right into this chaotic energy with them on the run. It's high speed right away. And because of that, there's really no sense of how we got here. So many films about drugs kind of cover the path into addiction and how these characters become addicted, and the effects it has on their family life or the people around them, and have these people around them who are kind of trying to get them clean. And we see like ultra small snippets of that with his home life and the parents, but that's really not until the second half of the film. And it's really not ever kind of fleshed out too much. It's very much just the characters are already hooked on drugs. Their objectives are mostly how to get drugs in that immediate moment. And it's all about kind of just like these instant urges rather than kind of more thought out, like motivated objectives that we're used to seeing. And I think it really does a great job of capturing that aspect of the world of these characters. And overall, I just love how culturally specific it is. I'm not from Scotland like Ryan, so I can't really speak on how accurate it is, but it feels from an outsider's perspective like it's a very distinct and authentic world, which I always really like to see. And like when films get more specific rather than try and make it more general to appeal to a larger audience. So yeah, there's just so much about the sense of place as well that I really appreciate about this film. I do kind of connect with like the Basketball Diaries or so what I'm thinking of. Forgetting. Oh, Requiem for a Dream. I kind of do connect with those films maybe a little more just because of certain cultural aspects. But like, I love how this film just immerses us into this culture, which I think is a huge strength of this film. And it's also, I think there's a lot of criticism about society as a whole where it's the characters are mentioned multiple times that they're just avoiding boredom and he's neglecting his problems and the responsibilities of most people's everyday lives and kind of how they use dope to just kind of escape from all that, even though we don't see what it's like much in the ordinary lives to kind of motivate the avoidance of it. We're already kind of hooked into it. And then also, touching on how, the kind of legalized drug use of like his mother's Valium and stuff like that. So I just think there's so much that this film does that really captures this lifestyle in a unique way, unlike the other films which explore the same subject matter.
Yeah, I like what you said about how it feels like they're just always moving on to like stuff, and that doesn't feel like there's like a build up to it, and it kind of does feel like just kind of the life of a drug addict, just doing anything to get by and get that next hit. So it definitely does work thematically towards the film. But I think probably one of the stronger aspects of this is the cast of the film because it has a lot of people early on in their careers that would go on to be like big UK actors. The obvious one being Ewan McGregor, who was probably one of the most successful Scottish actors of all time, apart from like Sean Connery, maybe. I think he's generally up there. But yeah, he was the lead in Danny Boyle's first film. And he's Shallow Graves and in this, so he had a good relationship with him at this point, and I think he's great in this film. He even researched extensively about heroin addicts for the role, and he even considered injecting heroin like to get a good understanding of the character, but then he didn't do it. Yeah, it was some crazy research for the role. Ewan Bremner, who played Spud, I think he's like a lovable idiot in this as well. I really like him. I think he's really funny, particularly in this first one. Like when he goes to try and fail his job interview on purpose, or when he shits all over his bed and has to go and explain it to his girlfriend's parents. He went to probably have on probably the most successful career outside of McGregor because he's been in stuff like Wonder Woman, Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer, and then Naked, which is also another like classic UK film. So yeah, there's a couple of people that have went on to have like really successful careers. Danny Boyle as well. He's probably one of the most well-known Scottish directors. As you said earlier, he's kind of went on to. I mean, was this his last? Apart from Trainspotting 2, this was kind of his like last like Scottish film. These other ones are like more American or more just I don't know if they're for hire. He done The Beach after this, which was kind of a dip in his career. But I think I really like Danny Boyle, and I think it was a good jumping off point for a lot of the people in this cast.
Yeah, like I said, I went into this kind of mostly blind, but yeah, the cast is just works perfectly. I like the way that, like I said, they kind of bounce off each other, and we kind of have our main protagonist, but I like exploring the impact of kind of all of our characters, the impacts they have on each other because of the drugs. And I think it works really, really well chemistry wise, because a lot of the time you kind of get drug related films that are just kind of centered around, I guess, one person and only one person. I think it's really, really kind of important to see all the interactions between friends and family and things like that. And not just on kind of one person who's doing drugs, but several at the same time. But yeah, I think the cast, they just work perfectly on each other. The comedic timing is absolutely spot on, and it's just, I cannot tell you the last time I was laughing so much in the cinema before when watching this film. So that was an absolute pleasure. But yeah, I just very, very, very good.
Yeah, I think they do a great job. I think the character of Spud especially just feels so real and like just always looks like a drug addict. And I think a lot of portraying drug addicts is in the eyes and the body movements. And I think they do a great job of kind of capturing that to make these characters feel real and authentic. And I love the kind of the accents and the slang, even though I don't understand and pick up on all of it. I like that. I'd rather have something like that I don't fully understand for the sake of the authenticity of the world. If it is true to
Mm.
what that culture and that world is like, that I can't
Yeah,
speak.
it is. They nearly made them dub over the film for the US release to like replace all the slang.
Yeah, I like that they kept the slang because, like I said, like even if I'm not picking up on it, like I'd rather them be true to this world and this culture. So I really appreciate that they took that kind of bold direction to to take that approach. And I like the dynamics between the characters. Like I love to start. I love the free form intros. A lot of this film feels very kind of like Jean-Luc Godard inspired. With it's kind of free, just cuts around everywhere. And I love the kind of free form character intros. Like it definitely feels kind of Scorsese-esque at times, which I like. I think that's a good thing. And it's interesting how he introduces his friends by all saying all negative things about them. And it's like he really seems to have like this kind of, I guess, grudges against his friends. And we see him battle addiction, but even as he starts to kind of overcome it, he's still fighting against, the battle with his friends and like them kind of coming back into his life and dragging him back into this world. And he's clean, like his eyes look clean, his the way he dresses looks a lot cleaner. And then his friends start moving in, and then the apartment, which is clean, becomes a total mess. And I think then we get like the moments of like this feeling of kind of true friendship when they accomplish something together towards the end, until then we're reminded that of the trouble that they're going to get him into, and kind of then he makes his final decision. But I also like how kind of like Evie Deloney early on when they go to that nightclub, we see like we don't see for every character, but we follow I think 3 or 4 different characters and what their life is like when they go home from that club at night. I like that a lot, how it kind of shows like this kind of more like routines and the paths of all these different characters, and how those are similar and contrast at the same time. I love that how Evie Deloney did it, and I really like how Danny Boyle does it here. So I think I totally agree with the dynamics between the friendship and the characters, which I also agree of great comedy, are a major strength to the film and immersing us into this world.
It's good to know. I was wondering if the comedy was gonna like transfer over, if because of like the border between like not only slang and stuff. But yeah, I think that nightclub scene, in the morning when Ewan McGregor sleeps out in the hallway, and then he finds a she goes to a schoolgirl that
I
they
was
could not get away
dying,
with doing
man.
that anymore.
That's so
Say real
funny.
quick, that girl's parents are like so. That's the one moment that's just super unreal. Like they're so calm. It's like, why is this
Yeah.
guy who's clearly older
Yeah, I
sleeping?
mean
Like,
that's just
why is he here?
it's just a '90s thing, honestly.
I don't know. Over here in the
Oh
'90s, I don't
man.
think it would have been a very calm morning. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
So funny.
that's such a funny scene.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, obviously there's like strong themes of addiction. It's a dark comedy, but I think it knows when to get serious. And it definitely does at times. Like there's some really dark moments, particularly towards the later end of the film. Like the standout probably is when like Sick Boy's baby dies in their crib because they were too busy taking heroin. But yeah, I think equally sad is like the friend, one of the friends in the group, Tommy, who he's almost like peer pressured into taking heroin about midway through, and unfortunately, I think he's the only one that ends up catching HIV, which the movie also touches on quite a bit, which would have been a big thing towards the end of the late '90s. And he eventually dies. So there's a lot of really dark moments in the film, which I think it balances well with the comedy side. Um, yeah, I think there's also some good commentary on like the kind of normalization of legal drugs like alcohol in the UK, because there's obviously like a strong drinking culture here that's kind of normalized. But, like whenever one of them decides to get off like heroin, it's usually in the next scene it will like show them in the pub, everybody around them like drinking, which is always obviously that can also cause like lots of addiction that is kind of normalized though. And I think it's a good contrast to them but on like the very hard drugs, between them and like the way that it's treated differently in the pub. There's also lots of talk about George Best, which his career was obviously ended with alcoholism. Some really good commentary.
I think what makes this film stand out even more is just the commentary on social class as a whole, but not just in Scotland, but in comparison with the whole of the UK, like England as well. We kind of get bits of they're kind of saying, they end up in London about kind of the classism really, and kind of the differences in areas at those times, and that for kind of a drug related movie you don't necessarily see. And I think it just works so well with these characters. Kind of Scotland is this kind of character in this that is obviously all around them, and we're kind of exploring loads of different parts around Edinburgh We kind of get that small scene in the countryside as well when they go out walking, when the average UK train station is just one in the middle of nowhere, one small train, and just drops you off. It's like one train every like so many hours. I think it's just really impressive in that sense. Like you're mentioning, Alex, earlier about this, we kind of see drugs as kind of this instant urges thing, which obviously I don't have any relatability to because I haven't done any. But I think it showcases that really well. We kind of how easy it's kind of brushed over that scene where Spud is doing the interview beforehand, and then just after the baby dies, instantly afterwards, they're straight back on it. They kind of want to get this level of emotion down and just forget about it, really. And also I think it's kind of done well how it doesn't glamorize the use of drugs. You know, their main setting is this really dilapidated home that's got holes in the walls and everything, and it's kind of really dark. And I just as a whole, from sets and from a screenplay standpoint, it's such a standout. And it's just fantastic, really.
I think it's a good time to go into our intermission. All right, so we have a new segment we're going to add to our intermission. Each week, we're going to do a Q&A with up to 5 different questions from the audience that we'll answer. If you have a question you want to ask us about literally anything, we'll put a link in the description below. Just drop your question in there, and, you know, if it's not one of the 5 featured this week, probably will be next week or the week after. So we're just going to do 5 a week, and we're going to keep doing this up to 5 a week, and we'll keep doing this as a recurring segment each week. Drop your questions in the comments below. Starting us off, question number 1. First question from Young Sam. If you could work with one person in the industry, who would it be? For me, that's Martin Scorsese. Not even close. Not even close. Well, as you know, Juan Carwai would be close, but
that's a good question.
Language barrier would be tough for Carwai, so I'm definitely gonna go.
Just there for the vibes.
Yep, exactly. The music on set.
Are you an actor in this situation, or is it you still you?
He didn't get too specific there, so I would say it could be whichever. I would say let's go with if you could just work in any job.
PTA.
That's a good one.
I'll go PTA.
Just because he was the first person that came to my mind, I'm going to go Sean Baker because I'll be a shit actor, but he'll be able to bring out an Oscar-worthy performance from me.
Ooh, that is a good choice.
Next up, we have question from Rob. Who has the best follow-up to their directorial debut?
That is a very good question.
I may go Danny Boyle.
His answer is Damien Chazelle, definitely up there.
Oh, yeah.
So it was that we're saying Whiplash would be that film.
Yeah.
Not La La Land, right?
Yeah, because there's one before Whiplash.
Yeah.
Trainspotting is Danny Boyle's second film. That could be up there.
Yeah, that's true. PTA, Boogie Nights.
I feel like it has to be Boogie Nights or Dazed and Confused or Pulp Fiction.
It has to be. Oh yeah, it has to be.
Or Dazed and Wild from Carwai too. That's another. I'm gonna go Boogie Nights and Dazed and Confused. I can't pick between those two.
I'm gonna go for Boogie Nights. That's insane. Second film.
It is such an insane second film.
Honorable mention to Mike Nichols, The Graduate, but I've got to go Whiplash for Chazelle.
Interesting.
All right. This question is from Anonymous. What a jerk. Says best film that would work as a podcast.
What was that? Sorry?
Best film that would work as a podcast. The stupid question that's been going around.
None of them.
Social media.
No film.
Now, you know what? I'm going to think about this. I agree, no film. Because here's the thing. It's like I like films that could work with just the audio, but that's from score and sound effects, not just like a podcast is talking. You couldn't have a podcast with just music and sound effects. So that's a big part of the audio. You know what? Honestly, I got a good pick. The Big Lebowski. Because a podcast, a lot of times, is like people shooting the shit. I could listen to them shoot the shit all day.
Yeah, is it like, when actors are like reread the, like it happened a lot during COVID, they'll like reread the script. Is it like that?
That's funny.
Yeah, I guess
Those
so,
are funny,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
still.
they're quite funny.
I guess a movie where you'd like to hear you could just listen to the talking and the conversations. I mean, obviously Tarantino comes to mind, PTA.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say There Will Be Blood.
Still shouldn't work for anything though.
No, I totally agree. I'm gonna go with The Big Lebowski. That's my pick.
I feel like Tarantino's a good show. Like if it was like actors rereading it.
I
guess
agree.
so.
Maybe like
Yeah, I guess so.
maybe like Hateful Eight or something.
Yeah.
Something like one location where it's a lot of the actors just talking.
Yeah, I mean, you could say 12 Angry Men, honestly.
Yeah.
Huh?
All right, next question. The name they submitted is from Jeff Profit. The question is, if you had to pick to keep one filmmaker's filmography, who would it be? And then in parentheses, for the sake of keeping it interesting, you can't pick mine, meaning we cannot say Jeff Profit, which I think would have been all our answers. So,
oh my god.
So you lose everybody else.
One person's filmography.
I mean, again, I'm going to say Scorsese.
It's got to be Lynch for me.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like Lynch, I wouldn't want to
depressing
because he doesn't have enough film. Because if you only keep one filmmaker's filmography, you want someone with a big body of work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Pick here because he's got a lot of films. Like if you pick Lynch, you have like 10 films for the rest of your life, and one of them is his Dune.
I think I'm still going to Raimi, even though he's not got a lot of films.
Raimi? Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't have enough.
I'm trying to think of someone with like a good amount of films.
Spielberg's got a lot.
De Palma would be a good one, actually.
De Palma's a good one.
Yeah, that's good.
You
could go Jackson. The extended trilogy would leave you on a lot to watch.
Oh
yeah, you don't have as many films, but you get a lot of time. Like you have a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Because this King Kong's 3 hours too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go De Palma, actually.
De Palma. Ryan, are you still taking Raimi?
Yeah, I'm still taking it. I can't not take the Spider-Man trilogy.
Was that 5 or was that 4? All right, we'll just go one more.
I think it was 4.
All right, we'll go one more. Final question from Jonathan. What are your top 3 actors and actresses working today?
Good question. Let me get this down. Okay.
List.
Oh, this is. I feel like it's just going to be something
hard.
I'm just going to forget completely.
That's fine.
Yeah, I can never. I struggle to pick actors and actresses.
Jack Nicholson's retired, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't think he counts.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh.
All right, actresses. I think I got it. All right, actresses. I'm going to go Emma Stone, Kate Blanchett, Margaret Qualley. Honorable mention: Frances McDormand, Julianne Moore, and Natalie Portman are near misses. My 3 for actors is going to be
Amy Adams is right there.
Wow, that's a good one too. Yeah, Emma Stone,
Viola Davis as well.
Viola Davis, that's a good one. Yeah, it's hard.
Would be Kate Blanchett, absolutely.
Got to be there. She's probably the best.
Amy Adams and Emma Stone, probably. I'm trying to think who else I would have.
See, this question's tough because like different actors.
Liv Ullmann isn't working, and I don't think Isabella Gianni's working either. So, yep. And my actors would be Joaquin Phoenix, absolutely. Al Pacino, definitely. And I'm going to go Song Kang-ho as my last one. Definitely.
Great pick.
My actresses, I'd go Emma Stone as well. Michelle Williams, another take maybe.
Interesting pick.
Underrated
And
pick.
Scarlett Johansson, I think. I can't think of anybody
Ooh.
else that stands out. For actors, Adam Driver,
Nice.
Leonardo DiCaprio,
Mm.
and maybe De Niro is my third. I don't know. It's hard to pick.
See, like
She
I would
knows
if
better.
you're talking prime De Niro, then De Niro's easily one of my three.
Yeah.
Are we talking De Niro today, or are we talking prime De Niro?
I don't know.
Because he said working today. That's what throws me. That's why I'm struggling with mine.
I guess you just like working. Yeah, I've kind of gone mine like overall, I guess. But there's so many.
I'm gonna leave De Niro off mine because I'm gonna take it from the angle of like right now. But like if we're talking in their prime, then De Niro blows out everyone on this list. But all right, I'm gonna go Bradley Cooper, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's between Oscar Isaac and Mahershala Ali.
Interesting. Joaquin Phoenix is still the GOAT.
I'm gonna go Oscar
Yeah,
Isaac.
Joaquin, mate. Joaquin could get in my top three.
Joaquin's like definitely up there. I'm kind of going more just on like favorites, but because then you got like Christoph Waltz is a good one.
Brad Pitt.
True.
Brad Pitt. Yeah, wow, Brad Pitt. Honestly, Brad Pitt's definitely one of my favorites. Let me check the question again. He said, "Who are your top three?" So I think he's talking favorites.
Same thing.
It's a different conversation.
I mean, it's different when you deal with this tier of actors. It's like different actors are perfect for different things.
Timothée Chalamet right now is at the top of his game. If we're going,
yeah, no, he
working
is
right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna swap out Scarlett Johansson for Toni Collette, I think, actually.
Okay.
Nice choice. Nice choice.
All right.
Let's say do underrated
sick.
pick.
That's a great pick. That is a great pick.
That's a good pick.
He's so good.
All right. So once again, drop your questions for next week in the description below. If your question did not get asked this week, then tune in next week because we will definitely make sure you are on the top of our list for the questions next week's intermission. So now another segment we're going to do is we're going to be sharing our top five watches of the last week, and you will get to decide who you think has the best. You'll get to decide who you think has the best top five watches of the last week of all of us.
So at 5, I have the absolute masterpiece that is Diver Wimpy Kid Roderick Rules. I rewatched it for the second time this year. Absolute classic. It's so good. Still so funny. It holds up well. It's so enjoyable. Yeah, that's my number 5.
A classic childhood comedy.
Mm.
Is Trainspotting like no one can pick Trainspotting, right?
Yeah, Trainspotting doesn't count, I think.
1 second.
Well, in fact, you can do Trainspotting if you want.
Actually, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. Well, we won't do it. I'll cut it out of mine.
All right. I didn't watch a lot this week because it was Memorial Day weekend. So my number 5 is The Masterpiece, 10 out of 10. Incredible script, even better direction. The Masterpiece, Shop of City Queens from the one and only Jeff Profit.
Oh my god.
And if you pick up,
that's really your best watch.
You really actually don't have another option but to pick a profit film. It's like I said, I did not watch
Oh my
god!
That's a sign. That's a bit ill, to be honest. The whole week.
It was bad at the crimes unit. So
okay. My number 5 is from a director that's not as good as Prophet. It's just a little known director called Kurosawa. And this is one of his later ones in the 70s called Dersu Ozala. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, this was amazing. It's into his era where he's experimenting with color. so of course it looks amazing. If you've seen Ran, this looks amazing as well with the colors at late on to his career. And yeah, it's late end Kurosawa. It's just the movies are just as good as any prime. So I really recommend that. And it's his only one shot in 70mm as well, which is cool.
He's a good director, Kurosawa, but he's no Jeff Prophet.
Okay, my number 4 is a film that surprised me going in. I didn't really know what I was going to expect, but I was surprised, and that is the Sean Baker's Tangerine. I had a really, really good time with it. Just
Nice.
really took me by left field. It was really funny and such a sporadic film where it's all over the place. But it's just one of those films, I guess, that only Sean Baker could make, and I just really like the way he shoots his films. And yeah, I had a great time with it. Really, really enjoyable film. Nice 3.5 out of 5 for me on that one.
Shot on an iPhone too, which is cool.
Was it really?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Mhm.
It kind of it kind of looks like that thing, but I had no idea it actually was shot on iPhone. That's cool.
So my number 4 is the hilarious, great comedy. I'm so gonna fucking lose this week. Trey Parker's South Park: The End of Obesity. That is my
Let's not
number
give
4.
that a watch out.
It is old school, just stupid. Like South Park has like some like creative humor. They have some that's like social, like societal commentary humor. Like this is old school, just straight dumb humor. South Park. Like this is just straight the dumbest humor.
I love South Park.
I love every minute of it. It's the best comedy. It really is. But that is that's my number 4. South Park: End of Obesity.
God.
My number 4 is one of Alex's favorite films. I got to see In the Mood for Love in theaters last Thursday.
Wait, number
Which-
4. You gotta bump that up.
I bumped this rewatch, bumped it up to 4.5. It was a long rewatch needed. This is maybe Wong Kar-wai's best looking film. But yeah, it's so good. I need to finish the rest of that trilogy. I'm interested to see how the characters because the characters are enough for you, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, not oh, so the first technically, yeah, but like the first one is the girl. In the Mood for Love is both, and the third one's the guy.
Okay. Yeah, I really need to watch those. But yeah, it was really cool to see a Wong Kar-wai film in theaters.
That's tough.
Nice. For me, at number 3, I have a new release from the god that is George Miller in Furiosa. Saw that in IMAX, second biggest screen in the UK in Manchester. Absolutely incredible film. Seen it twice this week actually. Yeah, one of the best films of the year for sure. And it's unfortunately not doing too well at the box office, which isn't looking too good for a potential finish to that trilogy. But I really hope there's some studios will allow him to do that because he deserves it. How old is he? 79, is he? I think he's 79.
Like that.
He's working at the top of his game, and he's one of probably the greatest action director of all time. But yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, my number 3.
It's a shame all
Sorry,
it's a shame all of our great action directors are like 70.
Yeah, I know. Chad Stahelski. That's where the hope lies in kind of ex stuntmen turned directors. But yeah, all of our great old action directors are getting up there.
Yeah, my number 3 is also Furiosa. We're probably going to cover it soon in an episode, so I'm not going to say much. That's my number 3.
Okay. My number 3 is Days of Heaven. My favorite Malik now. This was a rec from the Real Talk podcast. So I finally went and watched it, and it really is one of the best looking films ever made. I think it's shot at a certain time in the morning or something to make it look like that, and it just looks ridiculous. Also, maybe, I mean, I didn't expect the screenplay to be as quite good as it was as well. It was really interesting. But yeah, that could be a 5 on rewatch. Honestly, I really enjoyed that. That was
It's so
definitely my
good.
favorite Malik so far.
It's so good. Absolutely love that film. That's what we should have said for the second first film after feature. Forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. And then his next film after that is Thin Red Line 20 years later.
Wait, that was his third
Is-
film? I didn't even realize that. What was he doing in
took
those
a
20
20-year
years?
gap. Thin Red Line was his third film.
What was he doing? Was this like a...
Goodness, it's Terrence Malick. He takes like 5 years to edit his films.
Yeah.
And going into number 2 for me is Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece, his best film, Bram Stoker's Dracula. One of the greatest
High
horror
praise.
films ever made, one of the greatest looking films ever made. Is just insane production wise. The visuals are so good, the practical effects are insane. There is nothing in this film that I don't find perfect. And yes, Keanu Reeves' performance is so fitting for this film, even though people slander it constantly. It is a
I still like
perfect
it.
film. It is so good.
Godfather's better.
No, it's not.
Have you seen Dracula?
This is
No, I haven't. I just know Godfather's better.
you need to watch it. It's
Apocalypse
so
Now
good.
is better.
Nah, Dracula's better.
My second is a true cult classic, a great gem out of the 1970s. One of my favorite underappreciated directors, Walter Hill, his 1979 film, The Warriors. Such a fun film, great soundtrack, great characters. It's just, I love so much about this film. It's the definition of those films that, it wasn't necessarily the biggest blockbuster or the most like artistic masterpiece that's going to be studied in film schools necessarily. It's just such a true gem out of that time that is just such an enjoyable watch every single time. Very well directed in addition to it, and it's just one of the great like city films of all time. And yeah, I just love pretty much everything.
Is that an 80s film?
Close. It's 1979, so like it's right. It's like it's got like some 80s feeling elements to it, but
yeah, I need to watch that.
great film.
My number 2 is also Dracula. This is just everything Oscar said. This is like, I've seen like 3 or 4 Dracula adaptations, but I think this is like the definitive one. That's by far like the best one I've seen. It pretty much is a perfect horror film. I think it's amazing. The practical effects, everything on screen is done in front of the camera. Coming from the early 90s, it's so good. The visuals are insane. And like I said, I think it is like the best version of that kind of Dracula. And Gary Oldman, his transformations are amazing. Such an underrated performance as well. I think he's an amazing actor. Yeah, probably my number 3, Coppola, behind Godfather and Apocalypse Now. But that's not slandering it, because those two are some of my favorite films of all time. But yeah, just a special film in all departments.
And for me, my number 1 special film that I got to see in cinemas for its 25th anniversary this weekend, and that is Eyes Wide Shut. Not even Kubrick's best film, but it's one of his many masterpieces. What isn't to say about this film that it's just one of cinema's biggest conspiracies, and it's so subtly horrifying. But just the way this film looks and his use of color is absolutely perfect. Led by one of my favorite performances ever from Tom Cruise, and supporting him, Nicole Kidman, who are both fantastic. I think it still holds the record for the longest continual shoot for one film, which is, I'm pretty sure it's like 400 days, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, and a pleasure to see in cinemas.
I need to rewatch that one soon.
My number 1, not even close, by far the best film I watched this week. Robert Zemeckis' masterpiece, one of the best films coming out of the 80s, Back to the Future. I think we're probably going to cover this sometime soon, so I'm not going to say too much. But I like films that break rules and don't follow formulas. But this is a film that does follow the formulas and is a Hollywood style film, and it's just the most perfect execution of it ever. With great characters, every department brings their A game, and just so much more about it that I could say that I'll flesh out and we do a full episode of it. But yeah, Back to the Future is just one of its legacy speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's just a classic.
Yeah.
My number one is Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. This was my third watch of it. It's really up there, probably like top 3 horror films of all time now. Third Lynch as well. I don't know if it's better than Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive. It's really hard competition. But yeah, just some of the most haunting stuff you'll ever see. What some of the best character studies as well, I think. But yeah, obviously it takes a while to get there because it's 2 seasons of a TV show before you get to watch the movie, but it's really worth it. And definitely a must watch for anybody that likes Lynch.
I can't believe you put those 3 over In the Mood for Love, but I'm sick, so I'm not going to freak out.
They're all amazing.
Yeah.
No, they're good.
They're
It's
good
just,
ones.
I've actually the only one I've actually seen is Days of Heaven. The other 2 I haven't even seen. So, but In the Mood for Love is the greatest movie of all time.
I had a good month for watches.
Do we have any movie? Oh, so vote. We'll put a link in the description, or you could drop your vote in the comments for who you think has the best. That'll be 5 points towards the ultimate. We'll be keeping track of points for these intermissions, so that'll be 5 points to whoever wins the vote by next episode. Let's get back into Trainspotting. But yeah, so the cinematography of this film, I think, is very impressive. It's almost entirely shot with ultra fisheye wide lenses, kind of like Wong Kar-wai's Fallen Angels, which came out the year before, where the camera had to be ultra close to the actors. And when you see an ultra wide lens like a fisheye and at a close subject, it will distort the face and make everything look distorted, which I think is very fitting for this film because it's a kind of a distorted, drugged out world, and everything's supposed to feel a little kind of unsettling and unnatural, which I think they do a great job with, along with just an incredible use of colors. Danny Boyle paints this film frequently in very bold colors and saturated colors for much of the film, especially that early shot where we see them walking in the street and it's like the different apartment buildings and every one is like a different color curtain. And the shot, if you look at the lines of the building, it's just very slightly angled to just create that slight feeling of unease. I think is done so well. This also is shown where when we meet all of his friends and the 5 of them are at the bar together and each one of them is wearing a different color and just really painting the film in bold and saturated colors. But I think the biggest strength in terms of the filmmaking is the approach to the editing, where, like I said, this is a very hard cutting film. Nothing is smooth. And it really is like it just right in the middle of one scene, we just cut right into another, and then we'll sometimes cut right back. The editing of this film is so well done. And like I said, kind of like Godard-esque element, lots of jump cuts, lots of kind of energizing and kind of jarring us with no real sense of orientation, like the characters who, like we've said, are on drugs. A lot of filmmakers will normally start with an establishing shot and kind of cut in to make sure the audience always has a good sense of orientation and a good sense of what the space looks like. Danny Boyle uses pretty much no establishing shots to really kind of make us have a feeling of unease and never quite sure where it is we're at for much of the film. So I really like the way he kind of puts us in the subjective state of the characters through his editing, which I think he does a great job with. Also, lots of cross cutting and like sharp sound cuts. And I think one of the great kind of cross cutting sequences is when I think it's I forget which one it is. I think it's the one who got HIV when there's kind of this cross cutting between the characters having sex after the party and then leading to the soccer goal at the kind of the climax. And then we see a bunch of Scottish flags. And I'm not quite sure. Ryan will probably have a better understanding of what Danny Boyle's trying to say with that than I do. But I think clearly the film is commenting a lot on society and the culture and having a sense of place. So I think that that's clearly a very intentional kind of reflective metaphor from Danny Boyle. And then I can't not mention like I said, this is a film that doesn't follow the kind of the guidelines of the Hollywood traditional style film. And one of the clearest examples is because one thing they'll tell you in screenwriting school or film school or whatever is to never show the bathroom because it grosses people out. It turns audiences away. And very early on, one of the first scenes of the film, we have what might be the most disgusting scene in movie history. Like we've talked about movies like Saltburn on this podcast with like really gross stuff. This scene right here might take the chip. This is some of the most one of the most disgusting scenes I've ever seen, which
Mhm.
makes anyone want to vomit. And it's just it's
It's so
sad.
chocolate in real life as well for the scene.
It is.
It's what?
It's
They use
chocolate.
chocolate.
I'll put it this way. I wasn't thinking that when I watched the scene. It was absolutely
Yeah, I think the cinematography is really great at times. I like one of my favorite moments is when McGregor like sinks into the floor, and that's when he has his overdose, and like the shot of the carpet like blocking his left and right just stays with him throughout the whole time until he gets to the hospital, and they revive him. Yeah, there's just moments like that where like he's kind of like directorial flair really shines through, and I say like you said, there's not really like establishing shots or a lot of coverage. I think the fact that it was a low budget film, about like maybe 1.5 million, I think it was, that they didn't really have the budget to kind of shoot a lot, and a lot of the takes had to be done in one take to kind of save money. And I think that's definitely one of the downfalls of the Trainspotting 2. I don't think either of you have seen that. Um, but that's kind of a more movie that obviously a bigger budget. It kind of fell into the kind of normal tropes, and there's a lot of coverage in the movie compared to this. So yeah, the sequel definitely isn't as good as the first Trainspotting. It's still really funny, and I think it's worth watching it. I know a lot of people say that it kind of diminishes the end of this one, because obviously this one has a great ending where Ewan McGregor goes off into goes abroad away, like kind of breaking away from that friend group that's holding him back. So I think that really is a great ending to this one, but it really doesn't really ruin that. The second one is a bit more heavy on the comedy side as well, so I think it was a pretty good sequel. Both based on books as well, I think. Well, I know the first one is. I think the second one was also based on a book.
I haven't seen kind of the original like before the restoration, but just some of the way he makes the color pop, like especially the color of that nightclub wall, the red. We get kind of those lovely wide angle shots of them standing on there when they're coming out of it. I absolutely love, and them walking across. But yeah, just as a whole, I didn't expect. Well, obviously, like I said, with the restoration, but I just didn't expect the cinematography to be as good as it was, and I wasn't expecting it to be on that level. But it really surprised me on the level. And like you said, the lack of budget and them just having to shoot on kind of just one takes on most scenes, just it almost has this level of intensity to it and this real kind of sense of adrenaline to everything, whereas I think it is even more impressive. And the whole film was shot in just 7.5 weeks, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, I just was so impressed by everything kind of filmmaking aspects of this film, and didn't expect Danny Boyle to head kind of down the surrealism path in this film. But yeah, I hadn't really seen a lot of clips from it previously, but yeah.
Yeah, I really like this realism element and kind of how that's incorporated, especially considering, like I keep saying, that it's a subjective point of view where the characters are on drugs. So I like that they didn't try to ground it too much in reality and put us more in their shoes rather than the shoes of a sober person observing them. It really kind of immersed us into their psychological state a lot of the film, which I really liked a lot. And there's really some great special effects in this film, which I believe were done practically, like especially when he's going through withdrawal and like the room's moving back or like sinking into the rug, or the baby turning the head 180 degrees with that like creepy face. That scene's so great. But yeah, I think I really love one of my favorite shots is it's very Wong Kar-wai-esque. I feel like Danny Boyle definitely watched Fallen Angels with the fisheye lenses and Chungking Express, because there's also the kind of fast motion around Ewan McGregor while he's just sitting there still. And this is where in the voiceover he talks about getting sober and the boredom and depression. And you kind of see like just the world just moving around normality around him, and just his inability to kind of find fulfillment, and how that kind of is what motivated a lot of the drug use that we didn't really see those motivations for as much before. And so I just think that shot just speaks a lot. I thought that is such a great shot. And I also like what he does with the end credits, where like he kind of has the voiceover carry over it, and then there's that final scene where Spud gets the money, but that final shot of him walking into the out of focus, and his eyes and mouth become almost like a hollow like face, and it's like this creepy human like but not human face that the out of focus creates, almost like, if you were to draw like a smiley face with just like the simple smiley face of just dots for like large dots for eyes, like a large black circle for the mouth, like, and it just looks like a hollow shell of a human essentially. And I think
It's like that shot of Laura Dern in Inland Empire.
yeah, honestly,
When it
a
like
lot.
zooms into her face.
That's a great example. Like, yeah, I think it's just such a great final shot to show him as now like this kind of shell of a human being. And then I guess the last thing to talk about is just the music and sound design. It's the music seems to be used really to cover the eras, because they said the book, it goes from the early 80s to late 80s, and they use the music to kind of reflect that. Even though like eras tend to get blended over time, and not a lot of younger people today likely know the difference between early 80s music and late 80s music. That's a lot of what the music was really used for, was to kind of give us a sense of what era we're in. And I think it does a lot to kind of energize the scene, set the mood, kind of create those subjective feelings of the characters really well. But I think the sound design is even more impressive. Like, for example, the scene where we're at, I think, a diner early on, and like the sounds of the straws slurping the I guess they were milkshakes or whatever up, and he cuts really hard on them. And it's just using the sound to create a rhythm and like really loud sound effects, and constantly cutting, using those jarring cuts and cutting on sound. I just think as all the sound design of this film is very impressive and one of the biggest strengths.
Yeah, the soundtrack is so good. There's a lot of memorable moments. Like the start when they're getting chased by the police. I think there's some great moments with the soundtrack there. I think the soundtrack became like the second best-selling, kind of showed the popularity of this film at the time. Like, I think it was also up there as one of the highest-grossing UK films at the time as well. So I think the music does do a good job of putting you back in that kind of like 90s, 80s, late 80s kind of era.
Who's the which is the character that keeps on referencing all the James Bond films?
Sick Boy.
Yeah,
The one with
those
the
parts
bleached
are so
hair.
funny in the beginning of the film. That kind of sequence when stood and he's got the air rifle, and he just snipes the dog, and it starts attacking the man. So funny. And then you've got Begbie as well. He's the guy who's always trying to pick a fight in the pubs. That scene where he throws that glass behind,
Yeah.
and they got just that woman that's just covered in blood, and he's always got his knife out. It's like a recurring thing. He tries to take his knife out, and they're just all restraining him. And then you got that scene where it's the Edinburgh, the festival, and the American walks through.
Oh, it's so
behind
good.
him. And they just all go into the toilet and beat him up.
I really like the
So
train
funny.
station one where he's like, that's probably like the most iconic moment in the film. It's like, it's shite being Scottish for the lowest of the low.
Yeah. So funny. Oh dear. Really, really hilarious film. But yeah, that, especially the scene where the poo gets flinged everywhere in that kitchen, that was just hilarious. And it's the way that the camera, when he kind of wakes up on his bed, it slowly moves down as we see what's there, and he's just like, oh no. But yeah, it's just it works so well, man. But yeah, ensemble is just perfect. Are they all there? Are they all in the sequel? Well, apart from Tommy.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody that's not in it. Yeah, all the main cast come back.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention the team that worked on this film, so I'm going to do that real quick. The film was, of course, we mentioned, directed by Danny Boyle, very accomplished director. The DP was Brian Tufano, who also shot Shallow Grave for Danny Boyle. A lot of these collaborators worked on Shallow Grave, which was Danny Boyle's 1994 film with him. The film was produced by
Great film as
Leslie
well.
Stewart, and I haven't seen it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a really good, another Scottish film.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
What's this story?
Shallow Grave.
Shallow Grave.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot
it
of
was
it's
showing
kinda
it,
like-
but I missed it.
It's kind of like a film of like the format of The Treasure of Sierra Madre, where like they find lots of money and there's conflict between them. It's kind of like around that.
Cool.
The film was produced by Leslie Stewart and Andrew McDonald. Andrew McDonald produced all of Alex Garland's films and many other Danny Boyle films. The film was written by John Hodge, who also wrote The Beach for Danny Boyle, but the book was written by Irvine Welsh. The lighting was done by Willie Caden, who also worked on Shallow Grave with DP on the same team as DP, Brian Tufano, and Danny Boyle. And then it was edited by Masahiro Hirakubo, apologize if I mispronounced that name, edited The Beach and Shallow Grave for Danny Boyle. Also working on Shallow Grave with Danny Boyle was the production designer Cave Quinn. Special effects were done by Grant Mason and Tony Steers. Costumes from Rachel Fleming, who worked on the sequel, Trainspotting 2, 28 Days Later, and The Beach with Danny Boyle. Makeup done by Graham Johnson, very accomplished makeup artist who had also worked on The Revenant for Inarritu. Children of Men with Koran, The Favorite with Yorgos Lanthimos, Paddington 1, and also Shallow Grave with Danny Boyle. Hair done by Robert McCann, and the sound effects editor was Jonathan Miller. There was no composer on this film. It was entirely soundtrack music. But that is the talented team that brought this film to life.
Mm-hmm. No like the soundtrack is almost like associated with the movie now. I think at least that I don't remember what the song was called, but there's one of them that is just straight associated with Trainspotting. I think it's Born Slippy. It's called. But yeah, a really great low budget film.
What was the budget again?
1.5 million, I think.
Wow, that's crazy.
Great film, definitely something we recommend you check out and give a rewatch to, because we're assuming you've probably seen it since we've been spoiling it. But definitely a film we recommend you checking out. Do we have any movie release date years? Or all right, I'll throw up some real quick for both of you.
Okay.
All right, Ryan, your first film. Alfred Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder.
Ooh.
Ooh. I know it's 50s. 1954 shouting it out at me. So I'm going to go for that.
I can answer if it's not right, remember.
Right on the money.
Yeah, okay, nice. I'm scared of getting mixed up with your window or something there.
Oh, God.
Go
That's
Oscar.
crazy.
Akira Kurosawa's masterpiece, High and Low.
Oh, my God.
I think I know this. To put pressure on you.
Oh, my God. No. I'm going to go for 1957.
Way off. 1963.
No, that's what I was going to say. I was supposed to steal it.
That's my fault. I fucked that up.
Damn it, man. Could have sworn.
Honestly,
I actually was going to say 63.
I do trust that Ryan. Do we trust that Ryan had it?
I actually was going to say 63. I swear.
Nah, he wasn't. Nah.
Dude, I trust that he had it. I think.
I'm
And
genuinely.
I'm 4 points behind in the first round. Wonderful. Don't know why I thought that was 50s.
All right, Ryan, your next film is the all-time great war film, Come and See.
It's 80s. Oh, I don't think I know this. I don't think I know the exact year. What year is it? Is it 80s? No, I'm questioning myself. Okay, I'm just gonna go 86.
85. That would be 2 points.
Oh,
I was going to guess 85.
you just done it again.
And you said it again. I had 85 locked in my mind.
All right.
We'll
all
give
right.
him that. We'll give
I
him
get a
that.
point then.
Honestly, why don't we just wash the point from both of you since I fucked it up? It's a wash now. Or you
No,
can
no,
do-
wait. No, he
I'll just
only
give
gets
him that.
1 point because it's only what it's 3 if you get it, 1 point if you're a year out, isn't it?
No, I thought it was 1 point for 2 years out.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Ah, okay, I see.
Yeah, I was one off.
So I get
We'll
1
give-
point. Then.
Just give
You'll
him
get-
the point.
you'll
It
get
doesn't
one.
really matter.
You get your point. I will try to avoid doing that. Oscar, your next film, Leon the Professional.
Oh my god. I don't know. It's between 2 decades, and I can't decide which one it is. I'm gonna go 2001.
Is it?
Way off. It was
Wait.
1994.
Wait. No. I was good. Is it 94?
It is 94.
I am actually so bad, man.
Yeah, I think I'm worse
And
with.
Alex is half asleep, and my brain isn't turned on.
All right. Ryan, your next film. Oh, wait, that was Oscar's Letterbox. In spirit of Furiosa's release, we're going to go with Mad Max 2.
Oh, the first one is 70s, is it not? I genuinely have no idea. I'm gonna guess that the first one came out like early 70s, so I'll go like 78. That Mad Max 2 came out.
78.
the day.
Incorrect.
I'm gonna go. Mad Max 2 was 1982.
Oscar is wrong. Ryan is 1 year off from getting a point. It was 1981.
Oh,
Damn
When did
it!
the
I was
first one
1
come
year
out?
off.
All right, Oscar, for you, we have
That's crazy.
The first one was 79.
a great murder mystery, Death on the Nile.
Are we talking the original or the new one?
The original. Sorry, I should have clarified that.
Yeah. Oh, why you do this to me, man? Why are you doing this to me? I can hardly remember this. Oh,
I've not even
God.
seen this one.
Oh, I have, and I'm going to guess 1967.
Is it 61?
It is 79.
Damn it!
Oh, I thought it was earlier than that.
Both of you coming out of that round with 0 points.
I am doing so badly. That is you just threw a massive curveball there. That's criminal.
Now, Ryan, for you, we have a comic book movie masterpiece, undoubtedly one of the best of the genre. One that even
Okay.
you, as a Spider-Man fan, might consider better than the Raimi movies. We have Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I think the first one came out in 2004, along with Spider-Man 2. I think, or I might be thinking of Silver Surfer. So when did Silver Surfer come out? 2006. I'm gonna say. There was a 2-year gap.
It is not 2006. Oscar, would you
Is
like to attempt to
2007.
Yeah, I think it
Oscar
is.
gets 1 point. Ryan gets 2 for being 1 year off.
I'll take that.
Was I right about the first one?
It was 05.
Ah, so it was.
All right. So, Oscar, for you, we have a masterpiece of the video game genre, the Adam
Don't say
Sandler
Sonic.
song, Pixels.
That's an easy one.
Pixels was 2015.
On the money.
Yes. Thank
So,
goodness.
score update. Ryan has 9 points compared to Oscar's 5.
Hey.
So Oscar would need for Ryan to get a 0, steal this point, and then get a 3.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So for Ryan's final film,
Give him a curveball considering you gave me Death on the Nile.
that's fair.
I'm annoyed about Fantastic Four. I should have got that. I was literally looking at 2007 movies like this morning as well.
Let's go with from Alfred Hitchcock,
Oh no.
the Ingrid Bergman starring Notorious.
That's easy.
Oh no.
Even I think I've got this. I think I've got this locked. Please don't go.
I don't think he
I
knows
think
it.
I've got it. I think I know it. I think I know it. It's between two dates. Oh no, maybe it's not. I've got like a small time period where I know it's. I'm trying to picture it now.
I was gonna go for something, and then I think it might be a completely different decade.
And I
This
know
is like my
that.
least favorite Hitchcock. I don't.
What do you mean? It's great.
My grandmother's
It's
favorite.
good. Right. I was originally going to go like a completely different decade, but I'm gonna guess 49. No.
It is not 49. Oscar, what do you have?
No. There's two dates that I'm stuck between. I'm gonna go 1946.
That is correct.
Yes.
No.
Get it. Get
I was
it.
initially gonna go 61.
Oscar stays
61.
alive. 1946.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
Oscar,
crazy.
to tie Ryan, you need to get this on the money. We have from Brad Bird, the Iron Giant.
I think I know this.
Oh, I do not know this at
thought
all.
this
I
would be
could
an
be
easier
way
one. I thought I
off.
was writing the wrongs from Death on the Nile.
Oh my goodness. Oh wait. 1997.
Ryan, it is not 97.
Damn it.
Okay. I think I was in my head. I thought 98 or 99. I'm gonna
Oh no, I know what it is now.
go 99.
1 point for each of you.
Damn
99
it,
was.
man. Oh, as soon as you said 99, I was like, oh, that's it. Oh my goodness.
So our final score is Ryan with 10 points, Oscar with 7 points. Ryan takes the dub today. Once again, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff really helps the show out. And, leave your questions in the description below, in the comments, or in the link in the description below to be featured on our next Q&A segment of the intermission next week. And tune back in for another great episode. Thank you for watching.